Don't go.
Welcome to the Vinny Rock Podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The Vinny Rock Podcast.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's the Vinny Rock Podcast. Before we get started, I'm excited. I have this well-known streamer that I'm learning so much about named Tokki here with us today, but you guys will get to know more about that after the sponsors. Real quick, Core Medical Group, they are a testosterone replacement therapy company. They actually do all kinds of different hormones. So if you're a female, you can actually call them up. If you're not feeling yourself, right? If you're not feeling it anymore, you want to go get your hormones checked, you can hit up Core Medical Group. They will run your blood work. And Tokki, if you're interested, let me know. This is a company that genuinely they've saved my life. They've saved a vast majority of veterans who come back from combat realize that they don't feel so well. They go and get their blood work done and their hormones are off. There's something to do with the correlation between stress, the high levels of stress, and the pituitary gland stops secreting testosterone, which is crazy. And so for a guy to have low T, it can compile on a lot of different issues. And so we started hitting that with testosterone replacement therapy and several other little things, sometimes vitamin B, whatever the heck. But it's been great. So Core Medical Group, I want to give them all the love. If you guys are interested in getting your blood work done and have some questions, I will send you my boys' info and you can text them directly. So hit me up, Core Medical Group. You know I love them. Go check them out. Hit me up. Live Bearded, promo code Rocco. Yes, the beard is looking beautiful these days. Not dry whatsoever. Got a little grays. That's called genetics, baby. But Live Bearded is a company that is veteran owned. They're all about being good dudes. And that to me is very important. So I jumped on board with them. Like I said, use promo code Rocco. You get yourself 10% off anything in the store. Willie Peach Chocolate, a veteran-owned chocolate manufacturer. He makes them all out of his own home, but he also adds spice to it. If you like your chili peppers mixed with your chocolate, Willie Peach Chocolates is the place to go. Go check out williepeachchocolates.com. You'll love them. I love them. Bullion Box, that's where you go get your precious metals. Silver, gold, coins, anything you can think of right now, it is on the rise. Precious metals numbers are through the roof. If you like Bitcoin and crypto, another thing you should look at that's a little bit more, they say, stable would be Bullion Box. Go check out some precious metals. They do a subscription-based model from $200, $300, $400 a month. You can get yourself an equivalent to that in precious metals sent directly to your house. I just love the company. They're good people. Barry Law is a veteran-owned law firm that will help you get the veteran benefits that you deserve. There's a beautiful story on one of the podcasts I did with John Barry, and we talked about how he did back pay for a gentleman who was living under a freeway and was able to purchase a house and change his life and got married again. So these are these incredible things that Barry Law helps veterans get the veteran benefits that they deserve. Go hit them up. If you guys have questions, go to ptsdlawyers.com. Go check out Modern Gun School. You can build your own guns in your own home, learn how to be an armorer by using your VA benefits, by using your Voc Rehab. They send it directly to your house. It is pretty much a distance learning schooling, and you can get certified in being a armorer in the comfort of your own home. Go check out Modern Gun School. Go to www.mgs.edu, and you guys can go check them out at Modern Gun School on Instagram. Don't forget veteran.com, my organization. We're out here trying to help veterans in all kinds of ways, changing the stigma, changing the mental. Go check out veteran.com all day, every day. And hey, just because I'm wearing the shirt, this is Tier 1 Concealment. They're a pistol holster manufacturer. Incredible. The guys who run that company are great. I live in Utah, so I'm allowed to carry concealed. And so I do. And I have a Tier 1 concealment holster. Tokki, what is up?
Not much. Just waking up here today. And actually, a couple of those sponsors that you mentioned, my appointment after this interview and podcast with you is actually going to the range with a friend. So that should be fun.
With what friend, if you don't mind me asking? Is that information I can know?
Just a friend that I have here in California.
Cool.
Yeah.
What range are you going to?
I actually don't know that information yet. Yeah,
That's
this is my
cool.
first time going to a range here, actually. So
Okay, well, before we let me do
just
this.
recently.
I
Yes.
love it because I'm gonna dig deeper into that.
Okay.
But for the people that are listening, this is probably so far out in left field. But I'm bringing a lot of my worlds together now, right?
Mhm.
I interview veterans or doctors or sometimes like paranormal activity. Don't worry
Mhm.
about it. Paranormal activities and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I like to just do a lot of different things, but I've never really gotten into the streaming space. But I started dabbling myself, and so for the people that are listening, I would love for you to kind of give them the quick rundown of
Sure.
who you are.
Sure. So my name is Tokki. My real name is Amanda. My stream name on Twitch is Tokki. I am a full-time streamer. I've done many things in my life, but where I'm at right now, that's my full-time career. I stream 5 days a week on twitch.tv/Tokki. Speaking of paranormal, my main game that I stream is a game called Dead by Daylight. There's some spooky paranormal-esque stuff in that game. I'm partnered with that game, so basically I'm sort of like an ambassador for that video game. It's called a Fog Whisperer. So I stream that game with a little bit of variety, 5 days a week. I do I incorporate charity and fundraising into my streams. It's not something that is done every single day, but it's like campaigns that are done throughout the year. Yeah, and I've moved back to America last year, where prior to that I was a teacher. Actually, I taught for 5 years in South Korea. I taught ESL, English as a second language. um, and then of course many other things before prior to that, but yes,
I mean,
full-time
that's
streaming
great.
now.
And
Mhm.
how many hours a day are you potentially streaming?
Anywhere from 5 to 8. 5 to 8
Wow.
hours a day.
See, here's the deal. A lot of these kids think that this video game streaming full time is easy. It ain't easy playing video
No.
games that long. It's not easy. Like it's work. It
Mhm.
genuinely comes out to be work. And as much as
Mhm.
you might love streaming, you have to put in the work for that streaming.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, anyone can have the most basic ability to, if you've got something that can run broadcasting software and a video game at the same time, you could stream. You don't have to have a camera. Anyone could stream a video game if you've got the basic tools. However, like putting on a show, upping the quality of your stream, always pumping out the social media that all ties into the stream,
I
and
mean, look at
promoting all of it.
your office, everything.
Yeah,
It's a
streamers are
yeah.
they're one-stop shops. They run the tech, they run the audio, they run the music, they run the game, they interact with the chat. It's
It's
you
well
know,
over 60 hours a week for those of you listening, if you don't realize that, right? The average workday for people that do a 9 to 5 is somewhere in the 40 hours a week.
Mm,
Streamers are pushing somewhere around 60 to 80 hours a week. I mean, they go hard. And like you said, firsthand experience, I started streaming and I thought I can just have people plug and play. And then I realized I have to learn it myself because I can't hire someone full time to set up my stuff. I have
right,
to learn how to do it myself. And so
right.
I had to set up my Go XLR. I had all this stuff, and that takes hours and hours and hours just to figure out. And then you turn it on, and it doesn't work right, and you have to reset the whole.
Especially if you don't come from like a technical background and you're learning it all.
Yeah,
I mean, Google is your friend.
yeah,
But yeah, it's
yeah. I YouTube the shit out of everything.
oh yeah, same. Same, still to this day, same.
It's crazy. So I want to talk about the gun thing real quick, just because we're on that topic.
Sure.
You're right now. You're in California. Obviously, the gun thing in California, it's a little harder. You have to, there's a lot of little hoops you got to jump essentially just to go shooting.
Mm.
But where are you from originally, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from Florida originally.
Florida. Oh,
Mhm.
okay, so the guns are there. So you've shot guns before, and you enjoy that world.
I have. I'm not an avid like I guess enthusiast.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not super knowledgeable. But I am very respectful and appreciative of, of the all of the everything that goes into it, the knowledge, the art form, respecting,
Yeah.
as a weapon. I like, I'm for home defense and whatnot. But um I think the first time I ever shot a gun, my dad took me to a range when I was like 13, maybe.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, little 13-year-old me.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Florida, it's a bit easier. And my dad, so I grew up with around them a little bit, like, with having them safely put away in the house or what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah. And
Was your
then
dad military or anything?
my dad did a very brief stint in the army, and then
Cool.
had to leave for medical
Yeah.
reasons. But yeah, I do have other extended family that had longer careers in the military.
That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So
No, I know that you are a big supporter of the veteran community, and that's kind of the other reason why I thought this having you on board would be awesome.
I
Uh,
appreciate it.
yeah. And the gun thing is one of those cool things where, I think some people are afraid of what they don't know. So it's always nice to see people going out there and learning and experience it.
Mm,
The gun conversation can always be a touchy one. So I don't
it
even
can
touch on it
be.
too often.
It
I'm
can
a,
be.
I'm I'm a former military guy. I'm a former law
Mm,
enforcement guy. I personally have trained my whole life with guns, and so I understand the significance of them, and I know the importance of them, and I also understand the safety and the
right.
dangers of them. And so,
Right.
that's my world. It's just what I'm comfortable with. And even in my own household, my kids are just not that interested in, which is fine. It's wherever they go with their lives, they will. Well, I grew up I didn't have guns in my house. I didn't,
Right.
it wasn't a thing. My dad was a firefighter. He was a Marine, but he was a firefighter. And it was something growing up in LA. Trust me, everyone else had guns in this town. So it wasn't our thing, but that's cool. You guys are going shooting. Well, I hope you have some fun. I hope you guys,
Thank
you
you.
learn some skills. But the other side of that is you are big in the veteran community in supporting, and I heard you raise a significant amount of money for a company that I work with personally, Stack Up,
Hmm.
stackup.org.
Yes.
Yeah,
In 2020, raised over $17,000 for Stack Up.
that's crazy. And how does that work when streaming? You just tell your followers like, "Hey, we're going to be raising money for charity," and
Right.
yeah. How does that work?
Basically, well, Stack Up, so you may know, then does certain segments like the call to arms. So they reached out to me, a representative reached out to me and brought me on board. And I was so excited to, because I had already heard of them prior, and is actually my first charity that I've ever raised
Oh,
money
that's cool.
for. I've not been streaming for too long and have been doing it full time for even less. But they reached out to me, and it was during their call to arms. And so we had like the massive push was a 3-day campaign. But then after the 3-day campaign, which is where we raised the majority, the bulk of the funds for the rest of the year, I kept talking about it. It was always, you could come in any day in the stream and
That's
donate,
cool.
because it always got brought up on stream. It always got talked about. I have several commands in chat in my Discord server, which I'm sure
Yeah.
familiar with those. I have links in certain channels to Stack Up and whatnot. So it sort of became integrated and part of the day-to-day conversation that goes on in my stream. So there was a massive initial campaign, and then which we just like sort of trickled up a couple extra thousand even after that campaign.
Yeah, it's 17K from
Yeah.
any influencer charities groups. It's huge. That's a huge number. And personally just want to say thanks for supporting the community in that aspect. What they do, I've seen firsthand, because you have a lot of veterans who, especially during this time of COVID, it's a very
Yeah.
strange time for us. And to I run several nonprofits. Hero Sports is one I do, and we can't even play sports right now because of this. And so we've had guys, who struggled during this time. And so when we started introducing video games, and that's kind of what got me back into the video game world, is the COVID. It was like, okay, cool, let's do something I can do with veterans, and I can play with them, and I can communicate. And so just seeing people like you that jump on board and support, I just want to personally say thank you, and I appreciate that. And if there's ever another kind of thing you're doing for the veteran community, let me know. Let me jump on board to help out. And if we can turn that into 50K, 100K, whatever it is, like you have my blessings and my support in anything. So just let me know.
That's the dream. Thank you so much. And it's, it's always wild and humbling that you're thanking me, and thank you for your service. And I am forever in awe of what my community, what we raised together. And I am a partnered streamer, but in the grand scheme of things, relatively small. The numbers that I average, they've grown, and we're a growing community and whatnot. But it is a remarkable number that the members of my community came through and raised, being, in my opinion, modestly sized.
I feel like
So.
you're very humble, and I appreciate that as well. But let me ask you something that I think is very interesting about your bio when I started researching
Okay,
Korea.
sure.
So you went to Korea to teach English?
I did.
Did you learn any Korean?
I did. I did.
So I grew up in the San Fernando Valley, and if you know, it is a big Korean community out here.
Yeah, yeah.
I grew up with a ton of friends who are Korean. I love kimbap. I love, like, and growing up older, I start learning about soju and everything else. And I learned 2 words, and I'll say them, but not directed towards anything. It's dongomonkan pangu, and it's butthole fart. And those are that's the extent of my Korean. And then is oppa. Oppa is like brother, I believe. So
Yes, correct.
yeah. So that's my experience with my Korean friends. Q-Sin, David Beck, if you guys are watching, just shout out and love. You know what I mean?
I haven't heard Pongu in so long. It's like I taught kindergarten, elementary, and middle school, and they talk about farts a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's where I learned it, is elementary. Those are my friends from elementary that we continue to be friends. It's just ridiculous. But I just talked to one of them on Facebook, and I was like, bro, and I always send him Pangu, and he's like, shut up. Yeah, I haven't aged much, apparently.
It's funny. It's funny.
So how do you come about a job like that? How does that happen?
So basically that job was born out of my wanderlust, I guess you could say. I got my bachelor's degree actually in art history. I'm a massive history buff and specifically art history nerd. And I actually did have a degree. I know there's lots of jokes to be said for art degrees. I actually did have a degree in my field. I actually was art handling and helping manage to run a modern and contemporary art gallery. And then that gallery, the lovely woman who owned it retired. And it was always part-time anyway. It never, could quite pay, never even close to student loans and bills and all that. So I had to have a second job, and through the influence of my parents, they encouraged me to get my real estate license. So I got my real estate license, and
That's cool.
doing my dream of in the art world, and still trying to find something more substantial and sustainable and full-time, and couldn't find it. But it was cool. The real estate was cool. It was a wholly new experience and different type of profession, and I learned a lot. It definitely wasn't my passion by any stretch of the imagination. I did enjoy, I kind of like the competitiveness and the hustle.
Yeah.
I got bit by that bug a bit, and closing deals and going out for a cocktail after, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I got bit by that bug in that world a little bit, but ultimately 2 years, learned a lot, worked closely, broker and all the laws and stuff that you have to know. And, but I was done. Essentially I was done. And I actually always knew that ESL teaching was a thing, even through college. It's something often freshly graduated college students, that's who the job is most popular amongst. And ideally I was like, oh man, I wonder if I could snag a job in Europe. But it's very difficult to do when they can just hire someone from, like UK and things of that nature. So when it comes to basically getting a job overseas teaching ESL as an American, Asia is where it's at. I've done a fair bit of traveling, but I had never been to Asia. I can be that sort of impulsive person. I was like, screw it, let's go. I did some research into teaching in Japan, Thailand, China, Korea, and ultimately Korea won that list of pros and cons. And that's where I ended up. I had never traveled there before, and packed up me and the pup and moved.
How many years did you do that?
5.
Whoa. So did you stay there for 5 years, or was it just like semester and come home?
I stayed there for 5 years. I've only just been back in America, not even a full year yet. 11 months I've been back home.
So you can speak Korean pretty well.
I'm actually not fluent because they actively discourage you from speaking it. My work days were extensive. The Korean school system, very different from the American school system. Those poor kids, they're there morning to night.
Yeah, my buddy,
night.
I had a kid named Solomon, lived right down the street, Korean, right? we come home from school, and then I'd go ask him to play. He still had homework for about 2 more hours.
Yeah. No. Korean kids aren't playing after school. They're
Yeah.
it's a different mindset. It's different. I kind of think that like we're super lax, something in the middle.
I
Like
think in the
something
middle. I
something in the
agree.
middle between, yeah. So
Yeah, I've pushed my kids to be more focused on education than my parents
mm,
did me.
right.
But my parents were just trying to keep the lights on. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
100%. Yeah.
And so we
I
we
hear
would
you.
we'd come home and we'd be figuring ourselves out until my mom and dad got home from work at 6 or
Mm-hmm.
7.
Yep.
But then I'm on the
Yep.
fence where like I need my boys to understand, because I played college baseball and I became academically ineligible. But there's a long list of things why I was dyslexic and never got the help I needed. Didn't even know what dyslexia was. I kept
Mhm.
hiding it for so many years, and
Okay.
then eventually it caught up to me in college because I was like, oh shit, I don't know how to read very well and I can't write. Lost my scholarship. Boom. So I never want my kids to feel that same kind of thing. Like, don't lose a scholarship because you can't. So education became very important in my household and now is. But no, I agree. There's a balance between putting them as kids, not to let them enjoy themselves, and as well as getting a good education.
Right. No, I completely agree. So I was in my school, in my classroom, in my office for from breakfast to dinner. And it's full immersion. Like it's full immersion. So they don't want to hear you speaking Korean. So with my middle school students, I literally spoke zero Korean. So fascinating how good they are at English. Like middle school already have such a grasp on a second language. The younger the students, the more Korean I spoke with them. So my little guys, some of the kindergartners, early elementary school. But yeah, it's intense.
That's
It
cool.
is full immersion English Academy. Yeah.
So your nickname, Tokki,
Yes.
where did that
It's
come from?
is Korean. It's actually a Korean word that means bunny rabbit. It was actually given to me by my students. I teaching kids, teaching kids, being a teacher in and of itself is taxing and can take some extensive efforts to try and keep their attention, and they have shorter attention spans. Now imagine trying to teach kids and you're not speaking their native tongue,
Yeah.
that the window closes, the attention span is that much shorter. So you got to be extra silly, you got to be boisterous, you got to be entertaining. You're an entertainer and a teacher. I was jumping around the classroom one day, and in Korea they don't say like Mr. or Mrs. with a last name the way we do here in the States and most Western cultures. They actually say the first name followed by teacher or Songseng name. So Amanda teacher or Amanda Songseng name. And I was just, I don't know, it was one lesson I was jumping around and they were calling me Tokki teacher, Tokki Songseng name. And like, I was like, what is this? And they're calling me bunny rabbit. They were calling me bunny teacher because of the way I was in the classroom. And then they started calling me that in the hallways. Faculty and staff picked up on it, and it carried outside of the classroom. And that became my nickname.
That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
That's better than my nickname, so we'll forget that
Rocco's pretty
conversation.
cool. Rocco's cool.
That's one nickname. I had several others before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got in high school. They called me Goat Head. A coach made that up in
Goat
baseball.
head?
Goat Head. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And by
Do
the
I
time
want to know?
no, he just it was it's a fucking name he gave me just because he thought I was an asshole, I guess. And then by the time I got to college, it turned into Goat, and not greatest of all time, but more just like damn goat. I don't know what that means. And then it followed me forever. Still to this day. Yeah, I run into people and they call me goat. I'm like, holy shit.
Okay, so you said you're new to getting back into the game in gaming. You know what
Yeah.
that means now, right? Like you're the goat. That's like you're a god. Like you're amazing at the video game.
Yeah,
So
but
now like being the goat is like in the gaming world, your nickname is actually like
a cool one.
Rocco's the goat. Like Rocco's the goat. Like he's great at games. Yeah.
You haven't seen me play yet. Trust me. I used to be pretty good, but yeah, I'm still learning how to do it all. But crazy question. I know you said art. I'm an art fan myself.
Okay.
I used to be big in drawing and all that stuff.
Awesome.
What's your favorite art piece in their history of? And that's a weird question, right? I know art people.
Weird.
It's kind of like people are like, I'm curious to know. There's some artists that my whole life I've looked up to. I've been to a Van Gogh to see a Van Gogh's. I've been to see Picasso's. You know what I mean? I've went to a couple places to go see Salvador Dali's paintings. And still, to me personally, some of my favorite stuff is the street art that's out there now. Like Banksy's stuff to me is like blows me away more than anything, or at least more emotionally drawing, because just the stuff he does. I think it's always, I don't know. I just love where that comes from.
Yeah.
But curious about any kind of art pieces that you love. Maybe something from Harry Potter or I don't know, something.
So yeah, all those names, all those artists that you just mentioned, I adore them as well, and have traveled to see exhibitions and pieces and works for them as well. I actually studied abroad in Italy and backpacked around Europe and found several Banksies when I went on Banksy hunts myself. And
Yeah, I did a
um,
Banksy hunt in Salt Lake City. So if you're
yeah,
ever there,
that's
there's
awesome.
3 of them still there.
Really,
They actually cased them so you can take pictures of them. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. My much nerdier answer, I don't know if you're gonna know, because it's very specific. But my degree was in art history with a focus. So I had a minor in PDP, painting, drawing, printmaking, and my bachelor's degree focus was in Dutch Baroque. And you're like, what? Dutch Baroque, 17th century, is my favorite stuff. Is I love it. I love
Whoa.
it so much. The Baroque period
yes,
is my favorite. The lighting, the chiaroscuro, the shadows, the contrast between the light and the dark. One of my favorite things about Baroque paintings, which you can actually find more in Italian Baroque than Dutch, is the hidden light source. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like gathering paintings where you see they're around a table or something like that, and there's a candle, but you can't see the candle, but you see the glow. And
nice.
oh gosh, it just oh,
I'm
I
gonna
love it so
ask
much.
Mike. I'm gonna ask Mike to send. Mike, you're listening. Send me something so I can see the Baroque period. He sent me a message that says, "Baroque, don't fix it."
If it's not Baroque, don't fix
dad,
it.
dad
That's
joke.
that's a joke from Beauty and the Beast, Mike. I know that.
That's
But
funny.
my favorite piece is actually what is known. I know you know what the Mona Lisa is.
Yes.
Not my favorite piece. My favorite piece is what's actually known as the Mona Lisa of the North. It's called The Girl with the Pearl Earring. It was painted by
Yeah,
Johannes Vermeer.
I'm familiar with it.
Girl with the Pearl. It is quite famous, and it's sort of what you call it, like the Mona Lisa of the North. It's that mysterious, enigmatic sort of portrait of a woman. I got the chance to see it. It was on tour in the States. Got the chance to see it in Atlanta. I drove where I was living at the time in Jacksonville, Florida. Drove 5 hours to see it. Sat in front of it. I got all emotional.
Yeah, I get it. No, I get it. Especially if that's in your field of study, and it's kind of
Yeah.
one of those. It's one of those like, oh man, it's a unicorn that you get to see it, right? That you get to be in
Yeah.
presence of it. So.
It's just I just art, it does something to me. It does something, it just and specifically like the history and oil paintings. I appreciate everything, acrylics and street art and graffiti and all those things as well. But man, oil painting just does something to me.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't, just another art nerd. My older sister was a big art nerd, and so she would find
Awesome.
these, hey, they're gonna be doing a Van Gogh museum. We got to go, and so she'd take
Yeah.
me, and we just nerd out on it, like, whoa, this is rad, man. And so further on, went down into the street art. I started really liking just that freedom of free art. I love it, and some people obviously call it vandalism. I find it to be just so inspiring on how
Mhm.
Banksy does his thing. But then there's a
Yeah.
long list of other, street artists that I just love. So that's
Sure.
cool. So,
Yeah.
a lot of video gamers. Oh, Mike sent me an image. I'm gonna check it out. A lot of you video gamers. I'm not sure if you've been in the game long enough, but oh, he sent me a really dope one. I like it. There's some stuff here. We'll talk about it later. I'll check it out later.
That's a Michelangelo sculpture.
Nice.
Mm.
He sent me this weird haggard one that I didn't even want to show you. It's a little embarrassing. What's that about? Do you own that?
I don't know what that
Do
is.
you own that?
I've never seen that before.
I feel like there's a little bit of a lie in there. Do you know what that is?
What? Look at the time. Look at the
We're close, but we have about 10 more minutes.
time.
Tell me about this.
No, that was something that was actually sent to me by a friend. I am a big Harry Potter nerd.
That's
And
gross.
it's so gross. I'm a big Harry Potter nerd, and that was sent to me. I actually don't own it. I don't own like a printed version of that. I probably should. As a
Mike, can you get
meme.
one printed? Let's go ahead and send her one.
With a massive like Baroque frame, like museum glass covering it.
We're gonna take care of that.
Yes.
No, that's funny.
I'm gonna hang it above my bed.
There you go. My wife's a huge fan of Harry Potter, so we went to
Same.
we went to Universal Studios. I guess I think they had the Harry Potter spot, so we went and did that and bought our scarves and our little wands. And
Oh, that's awesome.
I really don't. I don't care about it too much, but she loves it, so I'm like, all right, I'm all about it,
Yeah.
whatever. But one of my favorite games ever, and I'm not sure if you've ever played it, Final Fantasy.
Don't hurt me.
You've never played it?
I never. That was. I missed the boat. I missed it. I know, and I know. Like when it got remastered and everything, everyone was losing their minds.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII was.
I missed that boat.
I tell people that's probably the first heartbreak I ever really had. I'm telling. I was. You've heard this story from many men.
I've heard these stories. Yeah, I've heard these stories about the first heartbreak and how much of an impact the game had.
It changed my life.
Unfortunately, I missed that boat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, some people, they'll never understand. They'll never understand.
It is a beautiful game. It's gorgeous. Like, I mean, is it too late? Like, is it too late for me to get into? Like,
I try to play the original, and it just was, it's it's like 8-bit. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried the remastered one.
The remastered stuff. Right.
Yeah, I'll probably try and get that next. But I already lived the story, right? Like you kind of create the story as you go, and everyone goes through the same story. Eventually, goes down to the same path. But I lived my version of it, and I can't relive that. It was just too perfect.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So your game that you play right now it's I have it here. It was Dead by Daylight, correct?
Correct.
And that involves paranormal activity.
A little bit. So it's essentially a horror game. It's an asymmetrical, so 4v1. Either you play as a survivor.
What does that mean?
An asymmetrical game. So it's not like Overwatch where there's the same amount of team members on both sides. This game is asymmetrical. So it's 4 people versus 1 person. You can choose which side to play. You're either going to play as the killer, or as the survivor, which is a team of 4.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So it's an asymmetrical game. It is the most successful asymmetrical game. They are difficult. They're difficult games to balance. Dead by Daylight is hands down the most successful asymmetrical game that exists.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's there are paranormal elements to it because there is a massive roster of killers. Your classics are there. You've got Michael Myers, you've got Leatherface, you've got Freddy Krueger, you got your classics in there.
I see that little pig behind you. It's that pig face thing. Those are scary.
That's actually from Saw, the Saw franchise.
Oh yeah, that's what it is, right?
It also has licensed killers as well. She is one of the killers. The pig, you can play as the pig from the Saw franchise. My pup has been so needy today. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. We can't even hear
my old girl. She's my old girl.
We can't hear her. She's good. She's good. So do you
and
believe paranormal stuff?
I'm actually very interested in it. I love watching Nuke's Top 5 on YouTube. Like I love watching all that stuff. Like I love watching like ghost hunting stuff and whatnot. And there is I guess the most like paranormal killer in the game would be something called the Spirit. I mean, there's also the nurse who like phases through. There are definitely paranormal aspects to a handful of the killers.
I gotta check this game out. Sounds crazy.
It's so much fun. It's addicting. It's a grind to unlock perks, and the game becomes more enjoyable as you level and rank up, and as you unlock and get your desired builds and loadouts. It's so worth it though. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's so addicting.
Crazy. Have you ever had a paranormal experience?
Okay. So, I have not in my adulthood experienced anything. I actually do have this memory as in 3rd grade, we lived in this old house, not terribly old, like mid-century modern, so maybe like house from like the 70s or something like that. And I don't know if it was just because I was a scared little kid, but I do have this memory. I was in 3rd grade, where I was the first put to bed. I grew up teenage mom, so like I didn't have my own bedroom. I slept in my mom's room, and so she would put me in bed, but she would still be like in the living room doing something, and I would be going to sleep early, and so the light in the hallway would be on, but obviously the room would be dark and the door was cracked, and I would see stuff in the hallway. I don't know if it's this creepy house, if it's my childhood imagination in third grade, but that like has always sort of stuck with me. That's always
Yeah.
sort of stuck with me. Is this a figure that I would see, and it's one of those things where like it was so long ago and I was so young, the memory can be unreliable
Yeah.
and can sometimes you remember things that you like sort of fell in, or was it
Yeah. And you can
so
tell
anyway.
yourself, yeah, it becomes your new truth, and you don't know if it was you or not.
Yeah, but I love I love horror stuff.
Yeah.
I love the horror genre in both movies and games. Um and I do love watching like spooky stuff on TV or YouTube. I don't know if you're into it as well, if you've heard of Nuke's Top 5. Um
Yes.
okay, so like I watch, I like will watch turn his channel on at night and stuff.
So
So
this house that I live in right now, this
mhm,
is this is the house I grew up in. All right.
okay,
So when I live in Utah full time, I come
okay,
here to work on acting stuff, and then I
okay,
stay in this room.
okay.
This house is haunted.
Yeah,
Not in a bad way, but
okay.
we have walkers, right? Like at night you can hear them walking across the house.
Really?
And it would scare my wife to the point where she's like, "Don't tell me," because like we'll be here alone sometimes, and you hear someone walk right past the door, and she goes, "Oh shit!" I'm like, I don't know what it is about this house, but I swear to you, you hear walkers, and we have these stories of like my nephew going up to the door and kind of waving and talking to like this, this nothingness, and yeah, man, and I can't say I've ever had this experience where I've seen anything, but I've had a
Mm.
lot of that, like a lot of walking, hearing things that just like there's no way someone's here. And so, yeah, I'm super interested. I'm actually gonna. I have a podcast coming up soon with a paranormal activity lady who's like an expert, and I want to see if I get someone in this house to try to identify some kind
Yeah.
of, you know what I mean? They're
Mhm.
obviously good. They've never haunted us in the sense where they've made any of us feel uncomfortable. But before my parents bought the house back in the day, they believed the original owner died here,
Mm.
and so that's what we believe who it is,
Okay.
the gentleman who passed away in this house. So, and again, I guess he's just searching the house, no
Just
clue.
keeping an eye out on things.
Giving out, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get off here, we have a little bit of time left, but I wanted to circle on something that I know is near and dear to your heart, is
Yeah,
the advocate for mental health.
absolutely.
Talk to me about that.
um it is something that is very important to me and should be important to anyone with a platform, in my opinion. It's something that is so stigmatized, has such a taboo attached to it when talking about it. It's as culturally, like in society, we've come leaps and bounds. Like you see celebrities and artists and musicians open up about it and talk about it a bit more in healthy ways about like actually like getting help and things like that. Um, and it's something that I myself, like most people, have struggled with. And specifically when it comes to what Stack Up does and why I chose to go forward with working with Stack Up is them being advocates for support for all of the mental health struggles, the PTSD, when whether they're helping like veterans who have long since returned home from tours, or active duty who are out in the middle of like nowhere feeling isolated, or veterans who come back and feel isolated because of what they're internalizing and dealing with. The avenues that they create, the resources, um, it's so important, and I feel like it is the absolute bare minimum that I could do to create awareness for it, to talk about it openly. There are a lot of members in my community that are active duty or are veterans,
Yeah.
and there are also, I have friends that are active duty. I have a lot of family that were in the military. My grandfather, who I never had the honor of meeting, my paternal grandfather, he served in Vietnam. He was a Marine, and when he came back, he toured. He was all around Southeast Asia. He was he The stories that I'm told that are passed down to me was that he wasn't the same when he came back, and he passed when my father was a teenager,
Yeah.
and didn't cope in the healthiest of ways. and took to alcohol and things like that. And he's this extraordinary man. And, maybe if, obviously VA, and I know there are
Yeah, that was a different time period too,
different
though,
times,
right?
right? And had stack up, like obviously given like equivalent of in decades, but like had something like stack up at that time. Had those services been available, had outreach, had support or something been
Right.
available, I may have grown up with my grandpa.
No, I agree. And
I may
here's the
have.
thing. You probably don't know much about me too much, but this is my big push, right? So I started an organization called Veteran, and our goal is to help veterans become better, right? And better in all facets, right? There's a stigma in our community, these alpha male types that won't want to admit they need
Sure.
help. I was a special operations guy, ranger, 3 deployments, blah, blah, blah. I had counseling. I continue to have counseling. I just went to a counseling treatment just the other day. I had post-traumatic stress, which doesn't mean I can't live a normal lifestyle, right? Which society wants to kind of put us in the box. Like post-traumatic stress, put him in the corner. He's broken. It's like, no, not true. Like post-traumatic stress is not a veteran issue. It's humanity issue, right? And
Right.
so this message to people like you, I think is very important to have a platform and speak openly on this subject. And all of you that are listening right now, if you guys are struggling with anything, you're not alone, right? There's every single one of us struggle with something, right? And so my goal is to have a platform like this, and obviously, Tokki's is the same, is to be able to say it's okay if you need help and counseling.
Yep.
You can reach out to any one of us. I'll point you in the right direction of who I use and who I believe in and who I trust. And at the same time, this is a humanity thing, and the only way we get past this and get healthy is by accepting, like, okay, we're human. And we just got to kind of get things
Yeah.
fixed here and there. And so, I love that you do that. I love that you speak on that. There's not enough leaders in all the communities speaking on it, and the more that people start to bring that to light, it stops being this uncomfortable subject for
Sure.
others to talk about. And so I commend you for that. I respect that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I respect you doing what you do as well, and it's so important. And I think the biggest struggle that people typically have is the invisible, like because mental health issues, while they can have uh, uh, impact you in ways that you can see, for the most part, this is an ailment that is relatively naked to the eye. And people don't realize that just the way that you would treat a physical injury, you also need to treat and take care of your mental health, even if you can't, it's necessarily see it. And that's what's so important. That's what's so important, is just having the outreach and the programs there, and letting people know that they're not alone.
That's it. I love it. Tokki, anything you want to plug and push right now, you're more than welcome to. Where can people find you? What games they can play with you after this podcast is released? I think in about 3 weeks, we have a couple ahead of you. I'm sure there's going to be veterans who want to jump on board and play. There's, a lot of people listening to me are veterans, law enforcement, and then just people who just enjoy a conversation. So please plug away.
I would love anyone that wants to come by, and we are a very warm and welcoming community. Our community is called the Burrow, a little play on the Tokki bunny rabbit thing there. But yes, you can catch me live 5 days a week, Monday through Wednesday around 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. I'm off on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then Saturday and Sunday I go live around 1:30 Pacific. And I'm usually playing Dead by Daylight. If you would like to play some games with me, every Saturday we have what's called Swift Saturday. It means survive with friends. You don't need to be subbed. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to be a subscriber in order to have the chance to play. We queue up. We've got a list. Everyone queues up, and we rotate through the list and run games with the community. You can always stop by and join that. That's every Saturday I do that. So yeah, come by, hang out and chat, lurk for the laughs. I tend to be pretty goofy and silly. So if you need just a laugh, or if you want to come play some games, you can find us. You can join our Discord. But yeah, that's twitch.tv/Tokki.
Can they find you on Instagram as well?
Yes, I am also on Instagram. I have a Twitter. Both of those handles are Tokkittv. So TOKKITTV. And I do have a TikTok and a Patreon and things of that nature as well, but they're all Tokkittv.
They'll find it, right? They go on there, as long as they find you somewhere,
it's all Tokkittv.
I want to give you the opportunity for you to be that voice, right? So you are that now, and if I can give you a bigger platform, so be it. And so that's why we wanted to bring you on board. I knew that you did
I
so much for
appreciate it
veterans.
immensely.
No, I know how much you do for veterans. I knew how much you supported the mental health, and so I wanted to invite you on here. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Take care, Rocco.
I took the blows